Welcome to the economy module, where we will examine both the current popular economic model known as the linear and an alternative future model known as the circular, a shift that some would define as a movement away from degeneration towards regeneration. This class will examine how the present global economic and social system relies on consumerism, the attractions of a consumer culture that is based in the linear economic model, what is involved in the manufacture of one popular consumer product, a look at non-consumer elements past and present, what a circular economy means and its associations with sustainability, environmental protection, waste as a resource, and social justice. But this shift to a new economic model will not be easy, for it will mean a fundamental cultural change in our attitude to other forms of life on the planet. Or to put it another way, it may be about all the governments, politicians, scientists, economists, planners, manufacturers, teachers, farmers, builders, indeed every one of us having to admit that we have to learn from and behave like trees. It will mean that we as a species need to ask if plants can provide us with the answers to the economic, scientific, technological and social problems of the modern global society. But first of all, let's admit that for many of us, up until the COVID-19 pandemic, we were enjoying a really nice lifestyle. We actually never had it so good. We were also encouraged by advertising to believe that the more we buy and the more we sell, the happier we would be. We were living in what could be termed the age of consumerism. And consumerism is based on a social and economic system that encourages the purchase of goods and services at ever higher rates. You may have heard of the Gross National Product, or GNP, which refers to the total production of goods and services of a state for a specific period and is the international standard used today for rating the economic status of countries. Modern consumerism began with the Industrial Revolution, when its engineering innovations and the use of steam power allowed the mass production of a range of products at affordable prices based on cheaply sourced raw materials. Automation of the manufacturing process, ongoing technology development, and the use of man-made materials such as plastic has meant that everyday appliances and products from phones, washing machines, clothes to cars are affordable, have short lifespans, and are continuously replaced by new, enhanced, more desirable versions. Today, consumerism is the norm for most countries and a way of life for the majority of their populations. It has allowed ordinary people to enjoy things that were once only the preserve of a small, rich, privileged elite. So let's look at these everyday products and the lifestyles that they bring. I really like my smartphone, and I feel it's good for me, but also for the economy. The popular 2-year smartphone contract in Ireland is a prime example of popular consumerism in action. Such a scheme encourages a person to buy a new phone every 2 years. This brings big dividends to many sectors. It means manufacturers can keep on making more phones, thereby maintaining and creating jobs in Ireland and in other parts of the world, thus promoting international trade between countries and making us all part of the global village. With 3.74 million users in Ireland in 2019, approximately 2.7 billion smart users in the world, and over 9 billion mobile devices, 14 million jobs are directly related to the mobile industry, many of them at the high end of the salary scales. This system also stimulates technology innovation, allows consumers to easily dispense with the older, less desirable models and to be able to obtain the latest state-of-the-art gadgetry. These devices have also brought great benefits to society, opening up the wonders of the web to so many, including those that are disabled, old, incapacitated, and can't leave home, and have revolutionized, even democratized, global communications. This consumer world, our world, owes a big debt of gratitude to plastic. The invention and use of man-made, synthetic plastic has underpinned the growth of consumerism. Invented in 1907, its ability to be shaped or molded into any form meant that it quickly became the key material of the new mass-produced consumer products, such as cars, radios, and household appliances that were starting to appear in the marketplace in developed countries, especially after World War I. Synthetic plastics are primarily made from oil and natural gas. Today, plastic is found in every aspect of our lives, which it has enriched and has improved society in so many ways. It is used for medical devices, phones, construction materials, agricultural products, computers, cars, toys, insulation, cosmetics, bottles, food containers, decorations, fridges, furniture, packaging, and synthetic clothing such as nylon. Even cotton clothing contains polyester, plastic, threads, as they are stronger and cheaper than natural cotton. From the 1950s, plastic was seen as liberating the housewife from the tasks of domestic servitude that involved endless washing and cleaning. Modernity meant that an increasing number of household items could henceforth be thrown into the rubbish bin after use. We were without doubt living in what could be termed the plastic era. Replacing wood, metal, and glass, plastic was looked on by some as crucial to saving the natural environment. In fact, the invention of plastic could said to have come about as a direct result of efforts to save the elephant. During the 19th and early 20th century, the demand for ivory almost led to the extinction of the world's largest land animal. Ivory was used to make combs, buttons, piano keys, and billiard balls. Elephants were killed to feed these growing markets. Concerned that their business would collapse once the ivory ran out, Phelan and Collender, the largest maker of billiard balls in the United States, in 1889 offered $10,000 to anyone who would come up with a synthetic substitute. A Belgian scientist, Leo Beckeland, took up the challenge and invented bakelite in 1907, the first plastic invented that retained its shape after being heated. So the question is, students, after all you have heard so far, is consumerism good to society and to the world? Is this consumer society that gives us so many good products, creates jobs, encourages international trade, and facilitates international travel not a good thing? Unfortunately not. And it can actually be the death of so many life forms on the planet. For there are dangerous flaws inherent to consumerism. The key problem is that consumerism relies on what is referred to as the linear economy, known as take, make, and waste. This business model is built around sourcing cheap natural resources, sometimes harvested and mined by a low-paid workforce, using fossil fuel-generated materials and high energy consumption, relying on long-distance transportation to get to market, having a short lifespan for the finished products, and producing high volumes of harmful waste, be it in the manufacturing extraction process, in packaging, or in the discarded unusable product. The United Nations has now recognized this economic model of consumerism as unsustainable, for it is contributing to high levels of pollution, a serious depletion of natural resources and habitats, using materials that are not recyclable, and playing a major role in greenhouse gas emissions and climate change. Studies have shown that, as a result of the linear economy, 90% of the raw materials that are used to make consumer products globally are not recycled back into the economy. This is putting an enormous strain on the world's environmental and social fabric. Cheap food, cheap clothes, cheap anything comes at a very high price for us and for the planet. The much acclaimed strength and longevity of plastic is also its problem, causing huge environmental damage. Plastic does not go away when you throw it away. It is not in its popular forms biodegradable. It just breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces. Unlike glass, metal, or paper, the most widely manufactured type of oil-based plastic, known as Polyethylene, plastic bags, plastic fillers, bottles, is not easily recyclable nor rarely done. Waste was initially seen as an acceptable, even a good characteristic of a modern society and of the linear economy. But as was shown in the modules on biodiversity loss and on plastic pollution, this type of waste is having a devastating impact on the environment. Nearly 300 million tonnes are produced annually, of which approximately 50% of which are single-use and discarded immediately. There are no signs that this type of plastic production will lessen into the future. Let's look at one device in terms of the issues that is usage, manufacturing, promotion, distribution and end of life raise. The carbon footprint of smart devices from production to operations is large and growing significantly. Smartphones have short lifespans, with new better models containing extra features appearing every 18 to 24 months on average, making the existing units more or less obsolete. Users are incentivized to throw away their old model. Hence, the technology companies deliberately make these devices difficult to repair in such areas as batteries. Obsolescence is basically built into their design. A smartphone can contain 30 different elements, over a third of the elements in the periodic table. Extracting these metals from the earth, especially the so-called rare earth metals that are fundamental to a phone's design and functionality, is a hard and dirty activity, often involving the use of sulfuric and hydrofluoric acids, the production of vast amounts of highly toxic waste, and the destruction of huge areas of natural habitats such as mountains, forests, seashores, and coral reefs. The internet is powered by massive server farms or cloud data centers, operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all over the world. Telecommunication networks and data centers consume a lot of energy. Most data centers continue to be powered by electricity generated by fossil fuels. Across the globe, data centers are consuming around 2 to 3% of the world's energy produced. With growing demand for online connectivity, it is expected that information technology communications will account for 14% of the global footprint by 2040, half of today's transport sector. E-waste, the fastest growing waste stream on the planet, produces approximately 50 million tonnes annually. Yet it is worth an estimated 55 billion euros. As an example of its value, there is around 100 times more gold in a ton of mobile phones than in a ton of gold ore. It also has a significant impact on health. Although it represents only 2% of solid waste in landfill, it accounts for up to 70% of the hazardous material there. So, is there a better way? Can the line or the linear economy, the one-way economic system that produces so much waste that is not reused, be transformed into the circle that is the circular economy? Can we develop an economy and a society that is not so inherently destructive and that eliminates waste, reduces, repairs, reuses, recycles, and upcycles, gives priority use of sustainable local raw materials, manufactures non-lethal clothing, rewards a farming system that nurtures soils and biodiversity, promotes non-lethal transport modes, uses renewable energy, and promotes a community ethos? According to the British economist Kate Raworth, 20th century linear economics is about degeneration. 21st century circular economics is about regeneration. In the 20th century, the economic question was, how much financial value can we extract from this? In the 21st century, businesses and city designers should ask, how many benefits will accrue in the way we design this? What else can it do for communities, culture, biodiversity? What else can it give to the systems that it is part of? The 20th century and current economic model is indeed degenerated by design. We take the Earth's materials, use them for a while, and then throw them away. Linear degenerative economics are contrary to the cycles of the living world. So we need a new economic order that is modeled on nature, modeled on a tree. As with the rest of nature, the waste of one then becomes a resource for another. In the plant kingdom, the waste of one process can become the food for another by the chemical reaction of photosynthesis powered by sunlight. Resources are never used up. They are reused again and again and again. So society must take that discarded mobile phone and turn it into something new. Nature doesn't turn a dandelion plant into another dandelion plant. Nature turns things back into building blocks of oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, and carbon, and uses them to build something else as part of an ecosystem. We need to create ecosystems of building materials of plastic, metal, and so on by production methods based on the principles of reusing. We need to mimic nature if we are to survive as a species. So can such societies actually exist? Well, the Ireland of 60 years ago and more had features of this circular economic approach. Now, there is nothing romantic about poverty, and we should not look in the past through rose-tinted glasses. Ireland at that time was poor, oppressive in many ways, having a subsistence economy with a high forced emigration rate. But there were modes of economic and social activity that were highly sustainable and beneficial to land, water, air, and community. Water was used to power flour and distillery mills that relied on locally grown produce. Clothes were made from local sustainable resources, wool from sheep, leather from cattle. There was a community-based organic agricultural system. Waste nurtured the soil and supported biodiversity. So look at the photographs shown here for elements of a sustainable, biodiversity-friendly, circular economy. The elements can be found in the building materials of the cottage, that is, the thatched roof made of straw and locally sourced stone, no toxic paints. The geese, local food produce that provided eggs, fertilizer, manure for the garden soils. Long-term sustainability via the ongoing reproduction of the next generation of geese. The turf, a result of low-level manual communal cutting of the local bog. The metal gate that was probably made by a local blacksmith. The grass and trees which provided havens for wildlife, and with the trees acting as a windbreak for the cottage. The stone walls, which were biodiversity-friendly zones. The surfaces of the stones, as well as the spaces between them, provided habitats for wildlife, with the latter also allowing the wind to pass through, thereby increasing the structure's resilience. And elements of a circular economy exist in Ireland today. Organic gardening in farming, neighbourhoods, schools and workplaces. The growing use of renewable energies in Ireland and elsewhere, such as wind, wave, biomass and solar. Reusing old plastics to make new products such as plastic filament for 3D printing. Electronic and computer repair workshops and businesses, as well as volunteer movements of digital maker spaces for youth and men's sheds for older people are found right across Ireland. EU legislation is making a difference. For instance, plastic bottles have to contain 90% recycled plastic by 2029. The new European Union Circular Economy Action Plan includes key principles of reusability and repairability, as well as upgradability of components and software to avoid premature obsolescence, reviewing the right to repair and the return or sell back of old mobile phones and tablets and chargers. Leading edge and developing technologies could help achieve sustainability, protect the natural world and its resources through a circular economy approach. Biomimicry has become the focus of new research and is about the process of taking the principles of nature and applying them to science and technology. After all, animals and plants and microbes are the successful results of billions of years of experimentation. Nature, the ultimate engineer, has solved many of the problems that human society is trying to get solutions for. So let's learn from and respect the rest of nature.